start the recording.
Welcome everybody to the Griggs Park Design Review Committee meeting. Aaron has a very nice presentation to present. I think he's answered everyone's questions, and we'll see at the end of the meeting if we can take a vote on the project to move it forward. But first we want to have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting. I would like to say 2 minor edits were made. The one was a spelling correction, one was just a clarification. It did not change the meaning, and Jessica's made those corrections. So if I could have a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
So moved.
Thank you, Carol. Do I have a second?
Jane.
Jane, a move by Carol Caro and seconded by Jane Flanagan. I will call you as I see you on the screen, and I hope if I leave off a committee member, please correct me. So we'll start with Carol.
Yes.
Jane.
Yes.
Teresa.
Yes.
Zora.
Yes.
Thank you. Stephanie.
Yes.
And I vote yes, and I think that's all the members. Thank you. So the meeting minutes from our last meeting have been approved, and now I'm going to, oh, and just one thing, it was noted that in your packet are letters that have sort of trickled in since our last meeting, and you should all have those. Okay, moving forward, Aaron, if you unmute yourself, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you.
Okay, let me unmute and I should, yep, I am able to share my screen. Can everybody see that? Perfect. Okay, so we tonight's agenda, we already had the call to order. And so next we'll be going over very quickly project goals and priorities in the timeline. I'll also review the votes from the last meetings. And then we'll get into the real meat of the presentation, where we'll be talking about the final concept and discussion of the entrances, which is just a rehash of what was last time. The final play equipment, the natural landscape elements. This is where we'll talk about trees, including new proposed species, drainage, and we have Sandy here from Niche who will talk about that, and then amenities. These are just so background goals and priorities. Our goals for this project were to provide a universally accessible entrances and pathways throughout the park, provide safe and accessible playground equipment for all ages, celebrate the natural character of the park, including conserving the existing wetland trees and plant the next generation of shade trees, and improve the existing drainage system to mitigate flooding and increase resiliency, and upgrade existing amenities to provide flexibility in use. We are at meeting 6, March 5th. If design is approved tonight, we'd be looking to go to Park and Rec. Probably, is it this month or next month?
Next week, Aaron.
Next week. Okay. So if you approve it today, it will go to Park and Rec next week, which hopefully gets an approval there. And then we'll dive right into construction drawings, which will take the rest of the summer to produce. And the idea is that we'd be bidding this either late this year or very early next year for construction start early spring next year as soon as the ground thaws. These are some of the previous votes. So in meeting 3, it was voted on to have a 6-foot wide loop path while maintaining the existing wider path at the main entrance on Griggs Road. It was also voted to have no additional wetland interactions, no paths or anything through the wetland. And the committee did vote to see if we could keep the secondary entrance at Griggs Road the same, which meeting 4, the committee voted on Compan to be the play equipment vendor. The committee also voted for 2 additional picnic tables in the park for a total of 3. And the committee voted to keep the playground layout similar to the existing with an added buffer between the path and the play equipment. The committee also voted to have no adult fitness activities such as basketball or outdoor athletic areas added to the park. In meeting 5, the committee voted for back to meeting 3 when we were talking about entrances being kept the same. We looked into it and we were not able to keep it the same. We had to make it accessible. So they voted for an entrance ramp to be approved there. They also decided to keep the path the same at 6 feet. And then for play equipment, they voted for option 2 for the 5 to 12 play equipment, which was a lower structure, was a net jungle gym. It's the second picture that's kind of outlined in red. And they also voted for the option 3 for the 2 to 5, which is that bottom image outlined in red, they requested that structure get a double slide. They also voted to have a 3-bay swing set with 1 bay of belt swings, 1 bay of 2 to 5 bucket swings, and 1 bay with a nest swing. And they also requested that 2 of the 3 picnic tables be movable based on public feedback, be movable, unlike fixed like I proposed. So you'll see in the revised one, there's 1 fixed table and 2 just kind of floating in the lawn. Those would be similar to there today, completely movable. I'm just going to go through this. If anybody wants it, we can come back to it. Okay, final concept plan. So first thing we're going to talk about is pathways. Then we're going to spend most of the time talking about play equipment, which is the second thing, the natural landscape, and drainage. Pathway goals, as we know, were to provide universal accessibility. This is the current conditions. 2 of the entrances are not accessible. There's some settling, especially at that drainage pipe. And this is the same ramp as last time that was voted and approved. So the one tree, we're going to have a 124 dBH willow in fair to poor condition that we're going to have removed to construct a new ramp that will be 7 feet wide, which gives you 6'3" between the railings. Okay, main big thing, play area. This was a slide from survey 1 showing that everybody really liked to see swings, slides, spinning elements. Sandbox was fairly popular, and natural play equipment. So here's an overview of the revised play equipment. So from the last meeting, the net structure from concept 2 is maintained. It includes a taller slide, several overhead play elements. We did remove the 2 spinning overhead elements and we've replaced them with monkey bars. The 5 to 12 area also includes an inclusive net spinner and a seesaw. And in the 2 to 5 area, we have a double slided structure that is linked to a tunnel with some log steppers. And there's also an added playhouse. The one thing I will report back, because I know this was something, if you look at the existing and proposed footprints of play equipment for the safety surfacing, based on the options chosen, we were able to get the footprint down from about 5,500 last meeting to about 5,000 square feet, which is only 500 feet more than what is currently at the park. So here's an overview of the play equipment. So here's as you can see on the left, the 5 to 12 showing that slide and the 3-bay swing set and the net climbing structure, the spinner. And then on the right is the 2 to 5 showing the kind of the playhouse and the smaller structure with the double slide, the balancing and the net climber. And then the bottom is just kind of an axon overview without any of the stuff blocking from the path, just so you can see all the equipment as it laid out. Here's an enlargement of the 5 to 12, just showing what the structures look like. I will note the slide is 8'10", which is only a little bit taller than the beam height of the swings, which is 8 feet tall. So just showing the nets and the overhead, as you can see in the lower right, we did replace those overhead spinners with some more traditional overhead monkey bar elements for safety. And for the 2 to 5, so we did bring in, as requested, the double slide and kept the net climber and the steppers. And then they added a smaller structure that has some play tables and is kind of a little playhouse area element, just separate from the other structure to kind of beef up the 2 to 5 area. For the swings, the 3 bays, as requested last time. So we have 2 bucket swings, 2 belt swings, and a dish swing. The one thing I will ask is since we're doing this in metal, I will ask for color options. I believe the brown is a little bit darker than what's shown in that picture. I'm asking the committee what color they would prefer of these. Of note, the top beam does stay that light silver in all the compound swing sets, so really it's just for the side post. Here's the revised perspectives, kind of showing like once the trees grow in, how there's going to be that kind of nice buffer between the play area. Like you can pass through it, but there is some boulders and other elements to help separate it from the main path. And then kind of that natural area connecting the play areas. With that, I'm going to go back to the main slide and ask if anybody has any questions on the play equipment. And if you have a preferred color for the swings.
Aaron, will you just point out where the sandbox is, just so people are aware of
Oh,
that?
yes. Right by the 2 to 5 area, we are going to be putting the sandbox in. It's the same size as the existing sandbox. We'll do some boulders and logs around it. We'll also use the stabilized stone dust surfacing around it because that is an accessible surface and it's okay if sand gets tracked into that. Like now how it's a hard to get lawn to grow there, we won't have the issue with the lawn in the mud. Any other questions?
There's a hand raised by Michelle Rosen. Do you want to take from the committee and the general audience, or do you want to get Aaron and Millie? What do you? And
Looks like Carol also has her hand raised first.
Yeah. So Carol, you want to go ahead?
In the area on this slide where it shows the sandbox, I can't tell if there are benches.
So there isn't a bench right at the sandbox, but the picnic table is right by the sandbox. So there's a picnic table right here about 4
right.
feet from it. There's not benches there, just because there's one at the 2 to 5 right over here. It's just there's not a lot of room there with that existing tree. We could maybe put one on the end, but there's already a lot of seating right there. And we would have logs and boulders too.
And those
Will
boulders.
there be rocks and boulders to sit on there?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And people can sit on the picnic bench and face the sand too. So that's
Yeah.
serves as a bench.
Thanks.
Zora has her hand up. You're muted, Zora. Zora, you're muted.
Thank you. So I do like it very much. Thank you for designing this so nicely for us. I liked it very much in the playground for the ages 2 to 5. You have two houses. In one of the houses has kind of a nice roof, have a bent roof. I don't know how I should describe it.
A curved roof.
A curved, how about, yes, thank you. A curved roof. I really like that very much. I was actually wondering if the other house could have something similar, maybe a similar curve, symmetrical to this one.
That would be something I would have to ask the manufacturer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that would be something I can't give you a definitive answer right now, but I could definitely, if you would like me to look, I can definitely reach out to Compan and see if they can mimic the two.
Mm-hmm. So I like it very much, the curved one. It's really cute.
Any other comments, Zora? Is that good?
That's it.
Okay, thanks. Stephanie has her hand up. Stephanie?
Thanks. Yeah, I think this looks really great. And I just wanted to say thank you for the path. I know you mentioned last time that it might have to kink due to locating the swings where they are. So I was really happy to see that you're able to figure out not to kink the path. So appreciate that. And I don't really have any further comments. Oh, actually, I did want to ask if the slide, I know Aaron had kind of asked if that was possible to be a tunnel slide. I know
Oh,
that
yeah.
was it's just something that kids then it just a question.
I completely forgot.
Oh, no worries.
I can ask them. Same with the little roof. I can see if they can do a tunnel slide. If they can do a tunnel slide, if a tunnel slide's preferred, I can easily say yes, do the tunnel slide. Or if not, would it be okay if it stayed like this?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Thanks, Stephanie. Carol, you have your hand raised again?
Yes, I wanted to go back to the slide that Aaron had about the color of the swing equipment. Is that something we have to decide? I mean, we haven't voted on that, so we're going to be voting on that this evening?
Yeah, or just any feedback. But yeah, ideally I would love to have a color to come back with them.
It
I
seems
think
to me it would be nice to have the brown because it would match the wood.
Carol, I think that's, if you want to propose that and we can take a vote on it, just keep in mind the top beam will always be silver. That's
Okay,
unpainted metal.
yeah.
But there's no reason why you
alright.
can't have.
There's no reason why we can't have brown uprights.
So Carol, is that what you're proposing, brown uprights and keep and the silver beam, which is fine.
Sure.
So, if this is about the color, Stephanie, do you want to comment on the color? I see your hand raised. I can't tell if it's new hand.
I do want to comment on the color. Erin, do you mind going? Oh, there it is. Yeah. So I think that I would prefer something like the dark gray, or even the anthracite gray, just because I know that generally, like even with color, even if it matches, it kind of stands out, and that grays tend to fade in the background. And so that would be my preference, would be to go with the grays.
There's two grays there, Stephanie. Do you want to propose which? There's a dark gray and an anthracite.
I think the dark gray, or the anthracite maybe is maybe better. I know that there are also trees proposed, and so the poles hopefully would kind of fade into the back, like it's there's going to be shade back there, so I think a color would stand out more. So I think my preference would be the anthracite gray.
Okay. And then Zora, do you have a comment on the color?
Yes, I was wondering about the surface. So right now it's kind of yellowish grayish. So the ground.
The ground plane.
Yeah, I think it depends a lot on the color of the ground, on the surface. And I'm not quite sure what that color will be. Will that be the color that's being shown, or it will be something else?
Aaron, we're going to discuss the color of the ground, so we can pick the color of the swing and then get the ground to be.
Do we want to hold off on the color of the swing maybe a little bit?
Yes.
Let's do that. Okay.
Yeah.
I know, is there any other committee? Because I know one of the members of the public had their hand raised. And before we move on, I'd like to.
Sure. So, Michelle, do you want to? Is Michelle unmuted? Is she able to speak? Michelle, you're muted if you're trying to.
Michelle, you should be able to unmute yourself. Sorry, I was muted, so you couldn't hear me talking.
Michelle, you're still muted. You have to unmute yourself if you want to make a comment.
Hold on, I'm trying to make her. Oh, sorry about that, Michelle. That was my bad. You should be able to unmute
Okay,
yourself
thank you.
now.
Yeah, I was not able to unmute, and because you've also,
Yeah.
I think you guys have blocked the video, so we also can't flag that for you either. So thank you. This is coming along beautifully. So I love to see the evolution. I had a question about the paint. Will that paint chip on the swing?
It's powder coated, so it's pretty much what they use almost on all the playground equipment. I can't I can't say that it'll never not chip, but it is very durable. And they do, usually when we get them, we get maintenance packages with them. So they usually come with a little thing of touch-up paint that we can go in and then fix it as needed.
Okay, great. Thank you. Are you asking the community's input as well on the color, or?
Sure, if you have a preferred color, it's only for the swings, because as you know, the
Yeah.
rest of it's going to be wood. So
Yes, yeah. I mean, I agree, I think with, I forgot who said it, but the dark gray or the anthracite would look lovely. And maybe it depends on what you're doing on the ground.
Great, Michelle, so we're gonna hold off on voting on the color after we look at the color of the surface.
Great, perfect, thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
I had one more question. Are those boulders real or are those faux boulders?
they would be real.
Okay.
Because the full ones, they're just as hard, but they do not last as long. And we have lots of boulders in stock.
Okay, great. I actually like the idea of real boulders because I think on the park at like the top of some summit, I believe they may have some faux boulders there. And to be honest, it doesn't look so great. So I love the idea that there'll be some real boulders. So thank you.
Okay, that I'm going to move on to surfacing, which was good, what we're leading right into. Millie, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, so I'm just going to start by saying that all playground safety surfacing really must comply with all these like standards that I'm not going to read through, but different ASTM standards, and specifically the Mass Architectural Access Board standards, really for accessibility, because we really want this to be an inclusive playground, right? And for everyone to be able to access these play equipments throughout this different areas of the playground. So mobility is like super important. And besides, like if you're in wheelchair or not, like if you have a stroller, it just becomes an important issue to think about, like as families are traversing through different areas of the playground. So we just want to say by stating that it is the town policy to use rubber surfacing in all of our new playgrounds, because the rubber safety surfacing is really the surfacing that is compliant and meets all of these standards and safety standards, and also for slip resistant, and it is firm and stable, and also lower maintenance needs. So there have been like come up in past in our renovation projects about why we can't use engineered wood fiber, which is the wood chip looking material that you see in different playgrounds. And technically right now engineered wood fiber is considered an ADA compliant surface. However, for it to be ADA compliant, it requires really intensive maintenance scheduling. So it needs to be recompacted, and kind of refilled to really make sure that wheelchairs and strollers can smoothly go through it. So essentially, the other kind of reason like why it is a town policy to use rubber safety surfacing is that Mass Architectural Access Board is looking into making engineered wood fiber surface a non-compliant surface. So this has been ongoing and in development since 2018. And I think like it's we don't know where it is in terms of the process and when it is going to be voted, but once it is enacted, all new projects will have to comply and use the rubber safety surfacing. So overall, we think that just going ahead with rubber safety surfacing from the get-go would be the best approach in making sure that our new playground will be accessible. And there has been like from the day one on the playground, like the kind of what we've heard from the community is that like the desire for the playground to be really natural looking, and we can like work with the colors. So Erin has shown, and Erin, you can talk through a little bit more about colors. Some, colors that kind of like mimic that, natural wood chip surfacing. So some of the images that he's shown here, in the top and bottom, it's like different kind of like shades of brown, like specks of brown, that kind of like gives that kind of tactile and three-dimensional kind of look to the surfacing. And if there's like any other subtle colors that we want to mix in, it's really flexible in terms of what color that we pick for the surfacing. So Erin, do you want to expand a bit more on the color, what you're thinking of?
Yeah, so I was kind of thinking along the lines of these three photos, either looking more towards like a brown, or honestly, like with the wood, the gray also really looks nice, and it's a very neutral color. I don't think anybody wants to propose anything orange, yellow, blue, purple, pink, turquoise. Are there preferences to any of these? Because in construction, they will send us a little puck and then we can like kind of pick colors, but that's very much in construction. Clara,
I prefer the beige or the more beige brown on the bottom.
on the
And so
bottom.
just so people understand, it's not these are made out of like little particles, and they mix a dark brown and a light brown and a black. So otherwise, if it's all one color, it looks quite strange. So all the ones you're seeing here are a mixture, and I I just like the lighter color that looks to me more like the typical um,
Almost like
mulch that
sand.
some
Yeah.
people use on playgrounds. I prefer that, and I've seen the darker ones, and to me they're less welcoming.
Mhm.
But if other people have opinions, I'm looking for hands raised. I don't see any.
Stephanie.
Stephanie?
Oh,
I agree on the lighter color. I think the dark brown is too dark. And I do also like the gray, but I don't really honestly have that strong of a preference between the light gray and the beige.
And this might be one of the things where when we get, this is totally in construction phase, just so everybody knows, I might do one of those things where I pick like three different mixes and look and see what actually looks best, because every vendor uses slightly different colors.
Yeah, that sounds like a good approach, and like bring it on site and look at it, see how it looks in the different like sun versus shade, etc.
Yep. But yeah, the feedback of like the more natural, like almost more like that bottom photo is good feedback. And it might help with the swing set.
Mhm.
Should I go back to the swing?
okay, now we should vote. So just to summarize, Aaron, right now, you're going to try to get something that's close to the bottom photo on this, but you'll look at different samples, and you can even send them to members of the committee or who are interested in
Yeah, I can
expressing
s-
their opinion.
Yep. That probably won't be until a year from now. You'd be like, what is this random email? But yes.
Okay, so now let's go back to the vote on the color of the swing. There we go. So I think I've heard two people voice the anthracite gray, the darker gray, and I think that Carol had said the brown, but learning that the crossbar could not be colored. Carol, did you go to the, can you
No,
just,
after looking at the ground cover, um, I, I'm not, I don't need it to be brown,
okay.
what I had said earlier. I think it wouldn't be it probably would not be a good match, and it wouldn't be good to have this color brown and a slightly different brown as the ground cover. So I think they would stand out more in one of the other colors, either the dark gray or the anthracite gray.
Okay, that's so since I've heard two for the anthracite gray and Carol says anthracite or dark gray, so is there any, and I like the anthracite gray, so can we just hear from the members of the committee if anyone has another suggestion, or if I guess I'll just call on people maybe. Oh, here Zora has her hand up. Go ahead, Zora.
I just would go for the anthracite gray too.
The anthracite gray, is that what I didn't
Yeah.
hear. Okay, great. And so that might as well ask everybody. Jane, are you good with the anthracite gray, or do you have a
I like the anthracite gray.
great? And then that leaves Teresa.
Yeah, I'm incredibly agnostic here, and so if others feel anthracite, then I'm okay with that.
Great. All right, so did I not ask anybody? I mean, I don't want to insult anybody. I just want to make sure. I think we all said anthracite gray, and I think it'll sort of blend and disappear among the trees, etc. So, okay, so we're going with anthracite gray. Aaron, next.
Next, big one, natural landscape. So really what I'm going to show is just a couple of plant. Sora.
I'm sorry to go back to colors.
Okay.
I was wondering, the climber in the area, in the play area for the 5 to 12 years old,
Mhm.
there is also color, and we didn't discuss that. It is this green.
I do not know if they have options for that. If you don't like the green, I can definitely ask them. I'm sure they have other colors.
So I think the green is a little bit too strong for me. I don't know how other people feel.
I don't.
I mean, it's
I don't-
okay.
I
It's
don't-
not
I
too
don't-
big.
I
Where are
don't
you
see
seeing green?
Yeah, where do you see green?
If you look on the upper, on either the upper left or the lower right, on the smaller elements like the ladders
There's the disc that are
The-
green.
They
and the
look.
ladder.
They
Is
look
the-
black.
The hand over hand looks dark gray to me.
Yeah, I think she's talking about like the little ones where you put, yeah, right there.
This is the 5 to 12 play equipment, right?
Yes.
Aaron's
Oh.
just circled
Talking
it in
about-
red.
Stephanie
Oh,
circled
Zora,
it.
that's
Thank
good
you.
eyes. I didn't pick that up at all.
Oh, those are the discs.
Now I see it.
Yeah.
Now I can't stop seeing it.
So will you circle it again, Aaron, so everybody sees it?
I think Stephanie did here.
Oh, Stephanie, good going, Stephanie. Will you circle it again? Whoever, thank you. So, I mean, they have some standard colors, like probably dark green and brown, and
Red.
And red.
we,
I will say you probably want to make it something that does contrast a little bit for visibility.
Right.
So I don't think we want to make it like, and black gets hot.
Yeah.
But if I can definitely reach out to them if there's a color you'd like other than green.
you don't have the other colors to show us. It's hard to vote.
I do not, unfortunately.
I personally don't mind the green because
No,
it's
I
just a
don't
little
either.
bit.
Yeah.
Well, should we, I mean, I think maybe we should take a vote. I mean, I think we can say vote.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead. Someone say.
I'm sorry. Sorry. I mean, if you don't know what other color are possible, then I think it's very difficult to vote.
Well, I think you get brown, black, red, green. Is there a yellow?
There's probably a yellow.
I mean, Zora, I
I
personally like the green, so I think let's. I know you don't. We're just gonna have to do, a vote, and then if we get a vote that people don't like the green, then Aaron, we can approve it with the color. He can send out like people to vote on a color chart or something. But I'd like to ask people to vote yes or no on the green, and if we get more no's than yes on the green, we'll go to another color chart. If that's, I think that's the fairest way to do it. So I'm going to I'm going to try to get everybody. Okay, so we're going to go yes or no on the green. And I'm going to call you first, Zora, and I think I know how you're going to vote, but go ahead and vote.
No.
Okay, Carol.
Yes, I vote yes on the green. I think it's good to have a contrasting color like that so kids
Thank-
don't get hit in the head.
Thank you. Teresa, unmute yourself. Oh, good.
Yes.
Yes on the green. Okay, Jane, please.
Yes, on the green.
Stephanie.
No on the green. I would prefer brown.
Okay, and I say yes on the green. So the green one, guys. Did I leave? Did I miss anybody? It was 4-2, I think. Carol, me, Jane, and Teresa, yes, and Zora and Stephanie, no. So it will be green. All right, moving on, Aaron.
Waiting for my computer to respond. Okay, so this is just a rehash of the last time. If anybody, for reference, we are removing.
Oh, Aaron, I hate to do this to you, but if you go back to the 2 to 5, are those going to be gray slides or those are our only choices?
I believe gray. Compan, I'm pretty sure, has gray, yellow, and green. I think gray is the most neutral color.
Okay, so right now the way you're presenting is gray is the slide color. Anybody have any? Stephanie, you have your hand raised.
I like the gray.
Okay, that's great. I see no other comments from the committee. As Naomi has her hand raised. And you're muted, Naomi, if you're talking.
Naomi, you should be able to unmute yourself.
She did.
Thank you. I'm Naomi Schweitzer, neighbor. I'm just wondering, what item are you discussing the color of now?
The slides, if you see the bottom left picture on the screen. Oops, no.
Sorry, I was trying to circle it and instead my computer advanced.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, the bottom left picture on the screen has a double slide with a child coming down it. It's that slide that color we're discussing. And right now, all the slides we have are gray.
And the choices are gray and
Compan usually has about 3 or 4 colors for their slides. Gray, green, yellow, red.
And so Naomi, do you want to comment?
I prefer the gray. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, we've had people in support of gray and no one opposed to gray. So I don't think I'm going to take a vote unless someone wants to raise their hand and object to gray. All right, so by proclamation, it's gray. Okay, now, Aaron, I thank you I just wanted to make sure we covered all color choices. Thank you.
Okay, back to.
Now we're going to the plants.
Yep, so we are removing 120 dBH of trees, of which 6 of them are exempt from the tree preservation bylaw because they are either in poor or dead condition, and they've been assessed by arborists. One of them would require mitigation of 24 inches, and we are planting 108 caliper inches of trees. So we are good from a tree preservation bylaw sense in the amount of trees that we are replanting. These are the tree species that we're proposing. I know people asked it the last time. As you can see, the weeping willow, by popular request, will be one of the approved plants that we will be looking at putting in some new willows, mostly on the exterior of the perimeter path. So if I go back to the last image, kind of some of these, especially like either along Griggs Road, kind of up by the secondary entrance, maybe a couple by the main entrance, and those 2 on the upper left could easily be weeping willow trees to kind of keep that current condition of the willows around the perimeter. Other trees, these all the other ones are native. A lot of them really like wet environments. So these are the taller shade trees. It is especially the oaks. And the red maple also are nice shade trees. So we'll put some of those over by the playground to really give that shade canopy.
Erin, what size are you planting of these shade trees?
Probably 2.5, 3, or what did I say? I didn't say 3 to 3.5 inch caliper for the big ones.
Okay, thank you.
And then for the smaller trees, these are all native species. Redbud, which is currently at the park, Amelanchier of river birch, which really likes wet environments. Hornbeam is a nice small ornamental tree. And then in the wet areas, we'd be looking at introducing some native willows, pussy willow and black willow. Pussy willow we know gets a really nice spring kind of bloom. And then speckled alder, of which there's actually currently one in the park. Are there any comments on the proposed tree species?
The Amelanchier will take wet pretty well too.
Yep. Yeah, I worked with Jack to really look at these, and we kind of went like trees that definitely like it wet.
Okay.
And then maybe not do as well in other parts of Brookline, such as Amelanchier.
And I have one question for you, and then I see other hands raised. So my question about the river birch, those drop a lot of branches. Does the town have any reservations about planting those? Because I think they require more cleanup.
Amelia, have you heard anything? I haven't heard anything, and I did
No,
run this
yeah.
list by Jack.
Yeah, I don't think, I know the white birches and gray birches are more brittle as well, Clara, but where we do have river birches around playgrounds, like I don't think I've heard like any specific concerns from the operations team.
Okay, all
And
right.
I'm pretty sure, I know there are birches at Emerson kind of in the buffer, and I
Yeah.
think those are river birches.
Right.
Yes.
I had a river birch in my yard, and you know, in about 15 years they make a mess, but they grow quickly, so that's positive. All right, so I see hands raised. I'm going to call first on Jane and then Carol, and then we'll go to the audience.
Yeah, my only question is in light of the 2 letters that we received about, potentially trying to save the willow that isn't, I guess decent enough condition. And I'm just wondering, I think both people proposed, is there any way we could work the path around that so that it could be spared? I think all the trees that you have planting look wonderful to me, and I agree with birch. They do make a
So-
mess, but at the same time, I mean, I love what the plan is, but I just want to just raise that because it has been raised with us.
So I don't know if you remember back at the third meeting, I had a design that got rid of 2 trees. So I reworked the path to get rid of 1 tree. We need about 60 feet of ramp to get down that slope.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a little bit less. Don't quote me exactly on the exact number, but it is definitely it's almost 2 30-foot runs. And there's so many trees along the edge that if we don't impact that tree, there's a tree right here. There's a tree right here. There's all these trees, like
We
It's
can't
kind-
see where you're pointing. We
I'm
Yeah,
can-
it's a little hard to
circling.
see what you're pointing to, if you wouldn't mind just being.
I'm circling it. You can't see my annotations?
Oh, okay. Oh, I see the tree to be removed.
No, I'm circling existing trees in red.
Oh,
So
okay.
the other locations where we could put a ramp near this entrance would impact a different tree.
So no matter what, there's trees that are going to be impacted by the
Yes.
ramp.
And we have to make it accessible because of how far away the other entrances are. If we
Mhm.
wanted to save the trees, we could, but then we would have to get rid of the entrance.
And we can't get rid of the entrance.
People
You
really
could-
want the entrance.
People really want the
Okay,
entrance.
yeah, I just wanted to clarify. So it's, if you want the entrance, the tree's got to go. Is that kind of pretty much, okay, just want to make sure.
And I did work with Jack, the town arborist, because there were 2 trees that kind of in this area, and we basically went and looked at them. He said which one's in worse condition, and that's the
Mhm.
one that we chose to take instead of the other one, which is in much better condition. And they're both willow trees.
Okay, thank you for that. Appreciate the answer.
So Carol, you have your hands raised?
Yeah, I wanted to give a big shout out for the red buds It's really so wonderful in the spring after all the dreary weather when those red buds come out and they're very cheerful. And I think that's a great thing for this park.
Thanks, Carol. Okay, so I have two other people raising their hands. Beth Jones.
Okay, Beth, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Hi, thanks. I'm in a butter on Griggs Road, and I too love the red buds, but something that's quite lovely about the park is that the trees bloom progressively, the flowering ones, and I would just like to put in a vote that we include trees that don't all bloom at the same time, because that is something quite delightful when we have them sort of moving over time and blooming. That's it.
Thanks, Beth. I think that's a great. I think the Amalenkers bloom before the redbuds. Is that true, Aaron?
I think so. I know they don't bloom at the exact same time.
And then we'll have some blooming. We're going to look at the shrubs too.
Yes.
So they have different bloom times. Naomi Schweitzer.
Thank you. A question and then a comment. My question is, how many new willows will be put in?
I do not have a definitive number. I would definitely look at doing them on the outside perimeter away from the playground because we want to introduce shade at the playground. So the ones that I would probably look to do willows are there, there, and there. Kind of scattered throughout the park, but on the edge.
And Naomi, you said you had a comment?
Yeah, so about 8 willow trees, Aaron?
Yeah, about 8.
Okay. I would feel better knowing the exact number of willow trees. It has been such a point for so many people that care about this project. So it would be nice to be able to tell people something more definitive than they're going to put a few willows around the perimeter. So even if you can't give an exact number, like maybe an exact range, that would help me be as a neighbor and a town meeting member, be able to communicate with people who have made it very clear to me that the willows are one of their main concerns with the park renovation. So that would be really helpful. Is that possible to do?
I could easily say those 8.
Aaron, how many willows are you removing?
1.
Mm-hmm.
So there'll be 7 more willows than there are now.
That's really helpful. It's just very helpful to be able to communicate to folks who, care about that particular aspect. The other comment that I wanted to make was just related to what Beth said, of just having flowering trees that bloom at different times. And I'm not a horticulturist or an arborist, so I don't know the schedule of all those trees, but I do know under the existing conditions, most of the flowering trees seem to bloom in like mid-May through mid-June. There is one tree at the entrance where we're putting the ramp that I believe is a dogwood. That's the kind of, and I may be wrong, maybe it's a magnolia. It's the kind of flowering tree where it's a white flower, but it's sort of a greenish white. And that comes later and it lasts longer. It seems like it's hardier, the flowers, than the other flowering trees. So whatever that is, I'm wondering if we could have that in another one of those. Because it's at a different point in time. And I think, Clara, you just said that we're going to be looking at shrubs, but I'm curious if there's going to be more forsythia coming in because that is one of the earliest blooming things in the park. And it is definitely a signal of like winter is over and spring is here. All right, thank you.
I know that Aaron's trying to plant natives, and it sounds like when you talked about the dogwood, you were describing a Kusa dogwood that is not native. And people are actually planting those less because there is some thought that they might be somewhat invasive. But I'll let Aaron speak to that. Go ahead.
Yeah, we were trying to go native outside of the willows. I could look at, I know Cornus Florida is native, which is a different dogwood. But I could definitely check with Jack to see if we could add that to the list. And I know there are also a couple magnolias in the park, which we will be keeping.
And the Cornus Florida has a disease that has anthracnose, so we tend not to, until they find a strain that
Strain.
can beat
Yeah.
the disease, we tend not to plant. I love Cornus Florida, which are the native dogwoods, but they do have anthracnose and they're not doing well. What can I say? And Beth, do you have your hand up again? I can't tell if you, Beth?
No, she took it.
Okay.
I took it down by accident. Beth, if you would like to say something, you can unmute yourself now.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that those of us who live directly across from the willow trees sometimes end up moving our cars farther into our driveways or away from under the trees because I witnessed very large boughs more than once falling off the trees. And I am one of those houses. And so I just want to put in a pretty strong request that if we're going to get, I love the willow trees, but if we're going to get 7 more of them and we have these massive willows, that the arborists really continue to check them regularly because it's because they're so beautiful, but they also have a tendency, as we all know, to hold water and sometimes lose boughs. So that's my request, is that we just put that in. We can continue to have that as a significant consideration because we've seen it happen more than once. And we have to, and I do, when it's very windy, I have concerns lying in my bed that the gigantic tree across the park for me may end up on my roof. So just that being a consideration, that we maintain them really closely, especially if we're getting more. Thanks.
Yeah, Jack and Pete are aware of the willows here and are definitely watching them. Okay, and then some of this, so this was from our wetland consultant where we're going to be removing a lot of those invasives in the wetland. These were some of the shrubs and flowering plants that were suggested. Not shown on the slide would also be some sedges, which look more like grasses, but they're also native wetland plants. So this is just kind of a palette of some of the plants that we could plant there. Sweet pepper bushes, both sweet gale and sweet pepper bush have very nice smells. And any comments on those?
I have
Some of those are perennials, right, Aaron? And some are shrubs.
Some are perennials, some are shrubs. And I think we'd lean more on the shrub side, but I think just for variety and diversity, we would add in probably some plugs.
So you'll have a bigger list of, I mean, like some of the shrub dogwoods will take wet, right?
Yep. Yeah, this is just a small sampling of the list. Otherwise, I could show you a list of like 20 plants.
Okay.
But some of these are some of the highlights, like some of the nice flowering ones, and like, like sweet pepper bush both has a nice flower and a nice scent.
Okay. Okay, we have 2 more. We have hands up again. So I'll go with Zora first and then Carol. I didn't see who raised it first, but go ahead, Zora.
So in general, I like all the sweat plants. I'm looking forward to the colors. I assume that will be in the center of the park. I was wondering about the blueberry. Is it edible? Is it toxic?
Technically, it is edible. It's the same blueberry that you get in the store. They are actually a native plant to Massachusetts. If you really want to go hunting, I know there are a bunch of them at Skyline in the conservation land behind Skyline.
And good luck getting them before the birds.
Yeah,
Yes.
the odds of getting the berries are very low. They really provide food for wildlife. But it is not something that is toxic. It is something that actually it's edible.
Nice.
Carol?
Yeah, I have a question about the marsh marigolds. Now, I don't, are these the ground cover marsh marigolds?
Yeah, they don't get very tall and they bloom kind of like, I want to say like
No,
May,
but
June.
is this what they have at Hall's Pond? They mowed over all these things there because they said they were too invasive and they were so gorgeous in the spring. They formed this yellow carpet, but they've cut them all down there. So I don't know what
Oh, there's another species that looks similar that is an invasive species, but
oh,
this is the native.
but
So
there's
there's
certainly so this is not that you would get to love them and then they would decide to mow them all over because they were invasive.
correct. This is a native species.
Okay, okay. Thanks.
Do they take some shade, Aaron? I mean, will they be planted sort of in the wetland area, so in an area that they don't tend to mow? Because we got to make
Yeah.
sure that the flowers aren't mowed.
Yeah, the marigolds do definitely take some shade. I know where I grew up, you could get them like in stream banks and woodlands.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands.
So with that, I'm going to give the next slide to Sandy. And then I have a couple other slides after this overview plan that I can have to explain some of it. Sandy, are you here?
Sandy, unmute yourself. I hope she's still there. I see her on the.
There we go. It took me a couple of tries to get the mute button on I'm on my phone. So I think we've talked previously about what kind of drainage and what kind of approach that we're trying to do from a stormwater perspective. And this is kind of an updated concept plan just to show kind of some of the intentions. And so I think first of all is the intention of the stormwater on the site really is to support the park itself, is to make sure that all the new play structures are well drained, to make sure that the wetlands are protected, and even to maybe some of the grass areas to have some under drains to make sure that they dry out in a reasonable period of time after it's raining. I think everyone that's in the neighborhood understands how wet it gets during the spring. And then what you're also seeing here is in the blue areas, those are kind of nature-based kind of bioretention and other type of stormwater features that are mainly for water quality. So when you look at kind of a holistic type of perspective from, the watershed and from actually, Brookline's perspective, they have to treat water that comes off impervious areas. So all of those blue areas are really, and also the pinks, which are water quality swales, are intended to provide a benefit to the town overall and to help clean the water and then have it just kind of go into the existing drainage system that's there. And then Erin will go a little bit more into depth on the south side, plan south, by where the new ramp is of that potential of that particular access point. And there is a thought of, again, kind of looking at both the watershed kind of perspective, but also look at the park. Is there an opportunity to take a little bit of water off of a Griggs Road just to say, not to like take a very large storm, but maybe take a little bit off so that you may not get as much, I guess you might call nuisance flooding during certain intense storms, and kind of divert some of that into the park, but not just to go to the park and stay there, but is just to be used based upon the grading of the park and the fact that that wetlands is a low spot, and then have it flow out through the drainage system. So this is very conceptual at this point, looking at very basic things like elevations to make sure it can work. And then once overall approval's done and this moves forward into design, then we'll get down to the nitty gritty and really find out is, can we balance bringing some water onto the site, but still keeping the park, not just currently how it's used, but maybe do some improvements of having some of the grass areas a little bit drier. And that's through using under drains and drainage to let the water out. So we haven't gotten to a point where we've done analysis and things like that. These are just thoughts about looking at the site and looking at the watershed, that immediate neighborhood area, are there any benefits that can be done on the park that won't impact the use of the park? In looking at things as simple as nature-based little basins to do water quality, and maybe I guess it'd be siphon off a little bit of the water that's in the basically large culvert. It's a 48-inch culvert, and kind of bring it into the park and then bring it out of the park, so you kind of delay some of the water so that both up gradient and down gradient doesn't have the same amount of nuisance flooding. We heard earlier in one of the early meetings that, people understand that some of the catch basins on Griggs Road overflow at times and so forth. This is not going to solve any big flooding problems. It's really just how much value can we get out of it to make sure it's balanced with the use of the park, but also maybe help the overall watershed handle some of the water and manipulate the water in such a way that kind of reduces some of the small flooding events. Happy to kind of explain it in different ways, but it's really, first comes first is the park, the use of the park. Then it's looking at maybe doing a little bit of water quality through those nature-based systems. And then also looking at maybe taking a little bit of water out of the existing drainage system to try to delay it and then put it back into the drainage system after the peak goes by. So, and I'll leave kind of how the water would get from Griggs Road culvert into the wetlands to Aaron, because he's kind of done a really nice integrated runnel for the potential of doing this. So, any questions?
I was gonna say, maybe we'll hold off, Sandy, because I also have a couple of slides that show like how explain the bioswale and stuff.
Okay, great.
But before can you go back to that?
Yep.
The pink there, which you say is swale with stone storage and under drain. The stone is not visible. It's not visible, right? It's not.
No,
Thank you.
they would all be vegetated surfaces. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Aaron. I'm sorry.
So here's just kind of showing the overview of kind of more green infrastructure that's not under drains. And I know Maria Rose is also here, who she can talk maybe a little bit about the lower left-hand corner when we get to it. So here's kind of a biobasin, as Sandy explained. So there's small depressions in the landscape, and I have a couple precedent images on the next page that take stormwater runoff. They filter it through both soil and stone, and they then either infiltrate it into the ground, which Griggs doesn't have a lot of room to infiltrate. So it would basically filter it and then would go back into the storm sewer system. So we're basically diverting it from the catch basin, treating it a little bit using soil and plants and stone and natural like bacteria in the soil, and then putting it back into the storm sewer system. See, there's some of the plants that go there. I know we have a lot of dogs in this park, so we'd probably lean more towards the grasses and the sedges, which instead of a lot of the flowering plants, just for ease of maintenance. And here's a couple of pictures of just various installations of them. The one on the lower right is grass based, and that's what they look like after about a year after planting, and then they grow in. Scale of these is on the smaller side, probably closer to the upper left-hand corner image. And then the other one, so I think I saw Maria here. Maria, do you want to take this one?
Well, it's your slide.
Yeah,
it's up to you.
Sure. So one of the things that we talked to engineering about, was that about a month ago?
If you want, I can queue up why we're doing it, and then you can take the slide.
There we go.
So thank you for inviting me to your meeting, Aaron. My name is Maria Rose. I'm the environmental engineer for the town, and we really appreciate engineering and transportation and DPW. We appreciate that the incorporation of the drainage features that improve the water quality of stormwater runoff, because my job is to reduce the amount of nutrients that end up in the muddy river, or any of our streams, because they cause a lot of problems. And we are required to do so. We're required to remove 2,130 pounds of phosphorus over a 20-year period of time. So every opportunity that we can get to do those is great. So very happy with Niche's design, and Aaron also incorporating those elements, the bioswales. Here, we also recently commissioned a stormwater model of the entire town, but for larger drainage pipes, to assess where we have inland flooding beyond what is just riverine flooding. Inland flooding can be caused just due to capacity constraints of over 100-year-old drainage system. And as I'm sure the neighborhood is well aware, there is flooding here on Griggs Street. But that flooding actually extends further upstream to Beacon Street in our modeling. And we are looking at every available option to help us mitigate flooding. So one idea we had was to redirect a small portion of water into this park, since it's being renovated, and use it as a detention basin that would temporarily hold the water, retain it, and then release it. This just allows, at the peak of the storm, to have more places for water to go. I have to double check with the modeler, but the numbers that I don't know how much it will impact superficially, like whether that would mean 2 inches less of water on Griggs Road. That I'd have to get back to you on. But we estimate that we could have 50,000 to 100,000 gallons of water that could be redirected temporarily into the wetland, because into the most lowest portion, the wetland area of this park, because it did function that way many years ago. The historic maps did show that this was all wetland. So it's really just allowing the natural uses and the space that it absorbed floodwater in the past. And so this is just trying to get more into that realm. And then Aaron made it look pretty. I had fun searching for runnel ideas, but he came up with some great choices. So yeah, check back to you.
Yep. So I know I have it shown here in kind of cobblestones. We were thinking more along that middle image where it's a very shallow depression, but we could also look at doing it just completely in grass so that you wouldn't have an element breaking up the space. The idea is that it would only function like everybody said, during the heavy rain events. The rest of the time it would be completely dry. And then we would be looking to have the pipe for this daylight kind of by that ramp. There we would make kind of more of a little garden almost, where, we'd have it lined with stones, and we'd have some plants, some of those bio-basin plants, but more of the like herbaceous ones with flowers, to kind of make an element that can tolerate the water coming in. This is more of a concept. This is something that is not for sure going to happen, because we still have to work on the modeling, but we did want to bring it to the committee to see if everybody's okay with this before we continue to model this portion of it. And all of us are here for questions. So I think at this point we'll open it up to questions.
So Aaron, can I add one thing to this?
Yes.
So one of the nice things about doing like these surface features is that the whole neighborhood gets to see how stormwater and where water goes and all of those things you get to see. And this is one of the reasons that these are surface expressions. Sometimes when everything's underground, you don't always know what's going on. This one is somewhat, educational, or just making people more aware that, there's a lot of water that comes through this neighborhood. And let's try to uh, increase or improve certain negative aspects of that particular culvert coming through the site, to say, okay, this is where it's really running here. But the key thing here is to make sure that it is controlled, so you're not going to ever have flooding out of the park. That's not what the point is. It's really just to take a little bit off the top, so that you can reduce some of the other surface flooding issues in and around here and upgrading of it. So think of this as a feature that you can watch and understand stormwater a little bit better.
So I see, I don't see any committee members with their hands raised, but I do see Naomi with her hand raised. Naomi?
Hi, thank you. Maria, Sandy, and Aaron, thank you so much. I just want to take a moment to just appreciate how lucky we are as a town to have so many experts, and there's so many things to navigate in any environment, but especially the urban environment, to maintain a special place like Griggs Park. So it's very heartening and exciting to see all of this. And when you have a house or an apartment building, you got to have your roof, and it's not like the prettiest thing, but you got to have it, and you got to have drainage, or all the pretty things don't get to stay pretty. So really appreciate that. I have one question, and then I have one additional comment. My question is, I heard everything you just said, but again, being able to explain this to other people in the neighborhood who are going to be seeing the changes made, where's the water primarily pooling now? I think I know where it pools, but I'm curious from our professionals here, like where is the water flooding now? And if we got a 5 or 10 year storm event, what would it look like in the park? I heard you say it wouldn't overflow into the street, and it would be coming towards the center wetland area, which makes sense. But like, could there be a situation where it is, overflowing the playground, for example?
We will have to look at that. That's where we're integrating some of the input variables that we're working on, giving them to Sandy and her team to make sure that it doesn't reach like flooding out playground equipment. So we'd have to do a lot of, we discussed that this would be a bit of an iterative process if this is amenable to people. But if I could share my screen, I could show a map, an inundation map of where flooding is.
Yes. I stopped sharing. You should be able to.
Okay. All right. We do not have, this is, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So actually I'm gonna switch over to, okay, so present day conditions for a 2-year storm, we do not have any flooding in Griggs Park, which is here. I'll zoom in. So 2-year storm, we're good. Then we get to 5-year, and we do have some flooding in the 5-year. Let me scroll down. Actually 10-year. I don't know if I have the 5-year. Oh, we do have 5-year. Okay, so 5-year, during a 5-year storm, and a 5-year storm, I don't know the inches off the top of my head. 5-year, well, 2-year is 3.25 inches, and a 10-year is 5.13 inches of rainfall runoff. Let me go back to this. Oops. Give me a second to make that bigger. So in a 2-year storm, only the park is seeing some flooding, but by the time we get to, I'm sorry, that's 5 years. By the time we get to a 10-year storm, that's when we see our pipe capacity reaching its max. So everything that's in blue are flood inundation areas. So we have a bit of a problem that's backing up all the way at Beacon Street due to just capacity constraints. And also all these gray lines are the pipe. Actually, let me back up a little bit. So you can see all the streets are white. All the dark lines here, the gray lines, these are all our pipes that were modeled. We modeled drain pipes that are 24 inches in diameter and larger. So this one's a 48-inch drain culvert called Tannery Brook, and we have surcharging everywhere there's blue. So by the time we get to a 10-year storm, we're having surcharging on Griggs, and I can zoom in now, but we have surcharging in Griggs Road, as well as it backs up the line. And surcharging just means that the capacity is at the pipe is at complete capacity, and it's coming up out of the ground, out of the catch basins, the storm drains in the street, and it doesn't have it can be due to a steep slope. It can be due to just not a finite capacity in the pipe. So this happens in an urban system. We do not have the space to increase that pipe size, so we're coming up with a lot of different solutions that are some are very cool and innovative, and this one will only take off a very small amount, like a very small amount really of water. But the fact that it was a wetland before is just helps us to potentially use it. So that's, I'm not sure if that answers your question, your first question.
So
Yeah.
I
Yes.
can add a little bit to this. So, and I think Maria captured it nicely, that it's an iterative process. It's a kind of a value proposition, meaning we have certain kind of goals in the park, and obviously the one goal is not to adversely impact the depths or the duration of any kind of ponding in the wetlands. That's a natural occurrence, but we don't want to make it so that everything out to the new kind of walkway is flooded. That's not it. And then the second part of it is there sufficient area there to actually have a positive impact on the upper areas of the drainage system? And again, like from my perspective, I'm just looking at the park. I'm getting information from Maria to say, okay, these are the numbers. Here's what we're going to look at. We'll model the park itself. We'll come up with some potential, like this would happen in this storm or whatever. Then we give it back so that they can then analyze the entire system, and they can say, you know what, this will help it by this much. Is it worth doing it? So it's not like an absolute that that's something we would do. It's the question of, is there an opportunity here? And if there is, and it doesn't adversely impact the actual park, then it might be a very good option for Brookline and for Maria and her group. So that's kind of a little different way. That's the way I'm approaching it, because I work for Aaron and he tells me what I have to do, as opposed to trying to solve the problems of the drainage system for Brookline.
Kudos to Sandy, because she gets this stuff all too well, and she's very accommodating with her time, and very respectful of all of the many things we're trying to solve.
Thank you, Maria and Sandy. I think some other neighbors might have questions about this too while you're here. The one other comment that I did want to make is I live directly across the street from the park and next door to the Eversource transfer station that had the massive fire and oil spill a couple of years ago, and is still being mitigated by Eversource, and the Clean Harbor trucks are out probably once a month doing more stuff on it. And I wanted to just bring your attention to that transfer station. I know this project is about the park, but right now we're talking about drainage, and everything is all connected. And Eversource chose a few years ago to redo their landscaping in there, and they took out all of the natural grass and ground cover and surrounded this beautiful crabapple tree with turf. So there's a very, very large area right across the street from the park that is now covered with turf. And I have gotten to live through what I would probably describe as at least a 2-year storm, if not a 5-year storm, a couple of years ago, where the water was coming down Marion Path in a way I had never seen it before and completely flooded the transfer station area, so much so that water was, spilling over like a waterfall into the road, and also into our yard. And if that turf had not been there and we actually had natural ground, which there used to be, and it worked just fine. They probably did have to come and mow the grass more often. So I think they're trying to save money, but it's not helping our drainage. I'm wondering if there's a way that neighbors could maybe work with the town, maybe it's with you, Maria, to work with our partners at Eversource to rethink their poor landscaping choices and how it's impacting our drainage. Thanks.
Erin, I mean, I think that's something that this, not the subject of this meeting, but I think it's a great thing to bring up, and Mealy maybe can reach out to you and take
Yeah.
it from there.
Mhm.
Yep,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
definitely outside of the realm of the project, but something to definitely look into.
Thanks. So we have two other hands raised up. Stephanie, do you have a comment, question?
I do. I have a question because I mean, I really appreciate all the green infrastructure that's being put in here, but I know one of the biggest challenges is maintenance and maintaining both the function of it and also the appearance. So wondering how green infrastructure, these little like bio retention areas, how are they managed in other parks, and what is the maintenance look like over time to make sure that these places do, that the plants survive and that they don't become kind of bare spots
So
in the park.
we have a couple in, I think the most successful ones we currently have are at Fisher Hill. We have a couple of basins there. OSA, our horticultural specialist, we just went through and replanted one of the basins because two of them were thriving, and the third one in the treatment, like the train, wasn't. And it turned out because all the nutrients leached out of the soil. So we had to amend the soil and then have replanted it, and it's doing well. It would definitely be something that we would have to work with our crews, because we're not only going to be installing them here, but I believe we're also going to, correct me if I'm wrong, Millie, we're also going to be getting some as part of the Pierce project.
Mhm.
So this is something that the town is, we're starting to incorporate these, and it would just be something that we would have to work on maintenance with. The good news is from the town's perspective is I'm in DPW, Jesse's in DPW, Mealy's in DPW, Osa's in DPW, and we all really know plants well, so we can go and work with the crews. And help with like mowing and other regimens.
And can
Yes.
Sorry, Aaron.
Sandy, yes.
I was just going to add, all drainage systems needs maintenance, right? The difference between a more traditional, manhole to pipe to manhole type of system, it still needs its maintenance. The bottom line is you can't see it because usually the trash and sediment and everything is in a catch basin or in a manhole, and you can't see it. When you have a surface feature, you see it. And there is a difference between the type of maintenance between a more traditional, structured or pipe type of system, which is really more of a mechanical type of maintenance where you come in with a clamshell or something else. You might have seen things being cleaned out, a vacuum truck or something like that. But to what Aaron was saying is that when you look at a bioretention, you're dealing with nature. And so in one thing, you have a little bit of a challenge, but on the other side, nature knows how to take care of itself, and it's a landscape-based maintenance, not a mechanical maintenance. So no matter what kind of system you have, you need to maintain it. It's just a bioretention, and with Aaron being a landscape architect, he has a much better, broader kind of sense of what the plantings and so forth. I was always told you want to do a diverse planting palette in your systems and let nature take care of what will actually grow and not grow, and let the birds and everything else contribute to what's going to be in it. It's a natural system, can be a little bit trickier, but it's a pretty self-maintaining um, drainage system as opposed to what a kind of a hard pipe and manhole system is. So that's my 2 cents of trying to promote green infrastructure for the last 25 years.
And I will say, oh,
I have one question for you, Aaron. You're showing bioretention, which is a depression that does have a catch basin in it, so that has a higher, you showed a picture of it. You see the little, in the blue water there, you see
Yep.
there's a catch basin. So just so people understand, the water can never get higher than that because it goes into that catch basin that's elevated, but it holds the water until it gets that high. But there are also bioswales that don't actually have a catch basin in them. They're just depressions that have a soil mixture in them, and the water sinks into the ground. Have you looked at those, or do you find those ineffective and you want to go to this?
so the one in the middle has a very large catch basin, which we would not propose. It would not be that's like a 3-foot catch basin. I think given the soils at this park, we would want to have an overflow where
Okay.
it goes into the storm system because just like all the other issues with flooding here, we don't want to have where a very large rain event comes and the water has nowhere to go, and then it floods onto the path and it goes, into the wetland and, into the park. We would always want to have a backup system that, oh, we have too much rain, it just flows into that, goes into the pipe and goes out of the park so that we're not exacerbating any problem with flooding.
And the other component is the fact that you'd have under drains in these because you do have high groundwater. And the whole idea is you get your water quality treatment through the runoff going through the soils. So we know that we're not going to get a lot of infiltration into the soil underneath it, but we still get the treatment component of it, and you get a little bit of storage component of it to help slow things down. But yes, you both need the overflow, and then there'd be an under drain system so to make sure that you have the water going through there doing its job and then being connected back to the drainage system.
So
Thanks.
unfortunately,
Andy.
this diagram didn't show up as dark as I should have circled it in, but this little diagram does show like the 6-inch pipe at the very bottom that would run through the bottom of it,
Okay,
which
so
is shown.
we have one more hand raised, and then we're running pretty much on time. So it's almost 7:30, and we need to discuss amenities at 7:30. So Michelle Rosen has patiently had her hand up. So
Thanks,
go ahead,
everybody.
Michelle.
Very interesting discussion. So one question is, so we live on Griggs Road across from the park, and we have flooding consistently and rainstorms. I'm trying to understand, is this going to be addressed by that? Or is it going to kind of create more of an issue on Griggs? And I know my husband is here too, and he had a question as well.
Yeah.
What address are you at, Griggs?
We're at 40 Griggs Road.
The street itself floods. So when there's a rain, there's significant rain, the Griggs Road turns into a river. It's like it's full of water, and it's actually gets really high on Griggs Road. So we couldn't tell in the entrance on the northwest side, you have this new potential.
Wrong button.
Yeah. So is this taking water from Griggs Roads into the park or from the park to Griggs Roads? I couldn't understand that.
Into the park.
Well, the bioretention areas are taking Griggs Terrace, right?
Yes.
Correct.
I was trying to go back.
And then what we were talking about as this, the option that we're evaluating is that there's a 48-inch by 48-inch drainage culvert that runs along Griggs Road. And we would have, at a certain elevation, when the water reaches that box culvert at a certain height, there would be a relief for the water to go into Griggs Park and allow some overflow. And then it would store there temporarily on the land surface and then flow back into that same culvert, just a few feet down. So that would be the system, but there are a lot of reasons for superficial flooding. I will try to remember to come out there, or you can find my name on the webpage if you have like, if your street turns into a river, I'd love to get photos of it because we're in the middle of doing a stormwater master plan and we're nearing the end of it. And if the models are only a prediction of what could happen, so there could be it could be an error somewhere, or it could just be that the catch basin inlets are clogged, which is a very common reason that we see surface flooding. Leaves and even some of the trees that you guys talk about, like if there's those ones with those little sweet gum things, those little pods, the leaves of trees and litter all very easily clog and overwhelm the inlets to the storm drains, and that's another reason that there can be surface flooding.
But I just want to clarify from what I'm hearing, this will not add any more water to the street. This is an effort to decrease the flooding in small storms. So if anything, it should help.
Right.
But
Well,
it
and that was my
definitely-
question was, will it help with the flooding on Griggs Road, which we experience consistently? I think your question was more, or concern was that it would add.
No, I understood. It takes it out of the street and brings it back to the street. I got it.
It's like a loop.
Oh,
That's exactly
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. And it would not probably activate on the smaller storms. This relief drain would activate on the larger storms. So more like a 10-year storm that it would activate.
Mhm.
And just
But-
understand with the way the climate is changing, and then one of the things that we're facing is the intensity of storms. So you may
Mhm.
get a little bit
Mhm.
a lot more intensity. Therefore, you have issues with capacities and so forth. And a system like this would just help it. We're not going to solve all the problems with trying to do it, this type of what Maria is describing as a diversion for a relatively small flood event versus like a 100-year storm or something like that. But the whole idea is there value into saying, hey, you can avoid X number of flooding issues and it gets better. And then it's just like less, it will then have that nuisance flooding with a less of an interval, and it may not solve everything, but it'll make it better. And I mean, that's the way you're going to solve a lot of these problems. And Maria's got a nice a challenge ahead of her in trying to figure out where are there opportunities to do this.
Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you. Thank you, Sandy, for mentioning we did experience in 2023 many summer storms that were short duration but high intensity, and that kind of flooding, this relief system would help even in those shorter storms. So I'm glad you did bring that up, Sandy, because it's not just the bigger storms. It is some of those fast hitting storms that we see in the summer that the system can't handle, and this would help.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is exactly when we see it.
Yeah.
Those quick storms, streets turns into a river, and then it resolves within like 15, 20 minutes.
Good, very good.
Yeah. But Maria, I can, are you on the website? I can get your email, and I'm happy to take pictures if I'm home or a flag for you. So whatever you think might be helpful.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, my name is on the under Public Works, Engineering, then Stormwater.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks for all that information. And Aaron, we're going to go on to amenities now. I think we've covered drainage pretty much.
So is this are we should we continue evaluating this option?
That was, yeah, that's what we really came for. So is everybody okay with us to continue, the DRC okay with us to continue evaluating, especially that stormwater, the overflow?
Well, let's have a vote. So you would like a vote whether to continue looking at the stormwater mitigation as presented. So yes is to continue, and no is we don't want any of this in the park. Is that what you'd like a vote on?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna call committee people as I see them. First, I see Carol. Yes or no?
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Zora,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So that's unanimous. We would like you to continue with this. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. The amenities, this is basically a rehashing from the last meeting. As you will see, we did update the picnic tables. We now have 2 movable picnic tables. They're just shown on the plan kind of where the existing one currently is. These will be completely movable and similar to the current picnic table. 2 drinking fountains, one with a dog bowl, one without. Big belly trash receptacles at the entrance, at each entrance, and then benches throughout the park. So here, I will go to the next page. Site furnishings. So the benches we're proposing, the backed ones match the current dedication benches. What we would do as part of the project is take all the dedication benches out, refurbish, and fix anything that's broken on any of them, and then put them back where they are. In the locations where we have other types of benches along the path that are not the dedication benches, we're replacing them with the same model number as a dedication bench. And I believe there's a waiting list for dedication benches here. So we may end up having them replaced with more dedication benches so that people have the opportunity to add more dedication benches to the park. The backless bench, the only place I would be looking at doing those is right in kind of that buffer area between the play equipment and the path. So it'd just be these 3 benches that I'd be looking at doing the backless, because backed benches are better for sitting in. But this is a location where there's actually kind of a desire to either sit facing the playground or sit facing the path. So this having a backless bench here allows you to sit in either direction. We did, because back benches are preferred, I also did, including some feedback from the last meeting, I added 1 additional bench to the play area, kind of tucked behind. So we have 3 benches at the playground that would be back. That is kind of that. Yeah, and this. So yeah, that was the same, then that's the same bench options and picnic table that were proposed at the last meeting. And that was it for amenities.
Do we have 2 water fountains, Aaron?
We do have 2 water fountains. One at the playground without a dog bowl, and one as close to the entrance as we can get without going across the existing drainage pipe with a dog bowl. Because of the way the drainage pipe is constructed, we do not want to, so the water comes into the park right about here. And there's a pipe that runs to the drinking fountain. So we would run a new line to this one, but it's really hard. It was recommended by the engineers to not disrupt this pipe and try to go underneath it with a new water line. So we're putting the drinking fountain as close as we can without going over that line, because if we were to put it somewhere else, we would have to dig into the road and add an additional water service.
Okay. Any questions from committee members?
Nope.
Okay, seeing none. Oh, Zora.
I have a question regarding the drinking fountains. I'm wondering how you will do the base on the ground, because right now we do see a lot of puddle forming. The kids do love to press the button, and then it gets very, very wet, and then you have to chase them kind of out of the puddle, don't get wet. So I was wondering what it's possible, what kind of options they are for the base of the drinking fountain so it drains.
So they'd be installed on a concrete pad. And then the one thing is, since we're getting rid of the fiber safety surface, they won't be able to throw that in the drinking fountain, which does clog them. And it's also further from the sandbox, which should mitigate some of that. The one over by the playground is on stone dust, which is a porous surface, so that'll absorb in without becoming muddy. And then the other one would just be on a concrete pad with adjacent lawn, but that's far enough away from the playground that you shouldn't get many kids running stuff over there. That would be the one where we would have the dog bowl.
Thank you.
Then we have 2 questions from the audience. John Bowman, you want to go first? Can John unmute?
So John should be able to unmute now.
Okay, thank you. I'm just curious to know what's going to happen with the curved bench in the center of the park.
I propose putting 2 new benches there because I've noticed that they are heavily used. So I would be putting new benches back there. If they're in good enough condition, we could look at keeping them. Or if the DRC would prefer, I can do a curved bench there. It's just a standard do more bench. I could put the curved bench back like that. Or the third option would be we could put in the Columbia Cascadia benches there so that all the benches in the park match. But I think we should keep the 2 benches at least in that location.
Yeah, it's nice to use those benches tucked into that area under the trees. And I don't have a strong opinion whether it's a curved bench or a straight bench, but it would be nice to be a backed bench.
Yes. Yeah, those would definitely be backed.
Okay, thanks.
So Aaron, just when we vote on this at the end, we will assume that you'll have benches in the interior where they are now. They'll have backs and
Yep.
you'll look at curved ones. Is that what you
I
said?
can look at curved ones if you prefer, or I have these shown as straight. I can keep them straight too.
Well, we won't say. We'll just say there will be benches at this point.
Yep.
And the last question, Naomi?
Thank you. I vote for curved benches, and that is one of the places in the park where it's, except during the winter, but during the warmer months, that you can find shade all the time. So just asking if the benches can be positioned as they currently are, because you can always go there, and it's like 5 degrees cooler than the rest of the park. A couple other comments. I see the Big Belly trash receptacles at each entrance. Wondering if it's possible to get an additional 1 or 2. The park is so heavily used for picnicking, and there's so much trash, and it overflows. And the town has sometimes put out an additional one of the carting bins, and the trash removal doesn't happen on the weekend. It happens during the week. So the little mini trash trucks come during the week. And so, especially on the weekends, the trash piles up, piles up, piles up. All the dog, poop bags, all the picnicking, all the pizza boxes. And it doesn't all fit, and we don't need any more rats than we already have. So wondering if we could get some additional Big Belly trash bins. The 3 that are here will not be sufficient for the needs of the park. And then also wanted to know if it might be possible at the 2 entrances to the park that are sort of more of the I think it's the southern end, right, more the straight part of the park, if it might be possible to have benches, put additional benches closer to the entrance. So for folks that would really benefit from an accessibility standpoint, whether it's a family with young children or someone who's had an injury or someone who has ongoing mobility needs, that they have a place where they can enter the park and just sit down. And maybe that's as far as they can go. Or maybe they need to sit down and rest. They've made it to the park, and then they'll eventually go further in. So just wondering, for accessibility reasons, if we could add a couple more benches at those entrances. Thank you.
So I can answer kind of the entrance. I'll let Mealy talk about the Big Bellies. For the entrances, I could add one at the top of the ramp, probably, and I could shift the one that's on the one on plan left, on the left-hand side. I could probably add I could add one up here. This entire run here is a ramp, so it's too steep to really add a bench, and there's not really we'd have to make the bench longer to like add add a bench in the middle of the ramp. I could also look at shifting this one a little bit more towards that. Up here, we could probably add something up here, but this is also the truck access, so we just want to make sure that we keep the correct width so that any bench we add here doesn't get damaged.
Yeah, and Naomi, thank you for your comment on Big Belly. Typically, these trash receptacles or our Big Bellies are a pair of trash and recycling. Maybe, in at least at the minimum of one location, we can do two trash side by side, so that that helps with some of the volume of the trash that's going to be coming into the park. And something new that we recently also kind of deployed in our operations is to actually do a weekend trash pickup. So we have a designated member of our crew now who does go around in the weekend and picks up the trash. And because of the snow right now, I think that operations is more directed into snow, but you'll start to see that the upcoming spring and summer months. But we'll definitely look at the volumes of trash we're getting there right now in balance with the number of Big Bellies.
Thanks.
But I will say that we did deliberately put it near the entries again for the truck access, and we don't want the trucks to get into the park and damage the newly built park. So it was deliberately put around the entries.
Thanks. And then we have one more question, Sushma. Can you allow Sushma to?
Sushma, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you. Sushma, one of the abutting neighbors. I just wanted to add a vote for the curved benches. I think it's a really nice feature. Kind of sets apart that area for quiet contemplation or conversation. And then I just had a question about the trash receptacles. Being a dog owner, there seems to be at one of the entrances a separate receptacle that I believe is just for the dog waste. And I'm just curious if you're going to have, and that often, I guess it shows you that it's a well-loved park for dogs, that it often is overflowing. And, I think we all feel badly to add to that. So are you going to have a separate, or is it just going to be the communal trash for the dog waste?
Yeah, we can, again, we are going to be adding, the Big Bellies at all three entrances. And if we, based on what the volume looks like, if those 6 units are not doing it or capturing the volume, we can certainly always go back and add the trash toters.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. We have on the agenda time for additional discussion. I think we've done a pretty good job talking each point through as we came, and we've listened to committee members as well as the general public. So I would like to, unless I see a hand raised quickly, I think we should vote on advancing the plan. We should vote to approve the plan as presented. I would like to add a few comments that Aaron will look at a tunnel slide, a tunnel slide, if that's possible to get. He will also look to see if the second playhouse that doesn't have a curved roof, if he can get that with a curved roof. He will, in terms of the swing, we voted on the swing structure on the anthracite gray, the dark gray. We voted on a lighter beige, closer to mulch, the 5-bar type mulch to get that. We did approve the green accents, the gray slides, and the curved benches, keeping curved benches if they're in good enough shape or replacing them in the center. So those are the things we've agreed to as the plan was presented. And so do I have a motion from someone on the committee to move the design as presented forward to it would be presented to the Park and Recreation Commission, and then the Park and Recreation Commission would have to vote its approval to move the park into construction documents. So do I have a motion from a committee member?
So moved.
Carol, thank you. Carol has moved that we have approved the plan with the statements I've made of what we've agreed to tonight. Do we have a second?
This is Jane, no second.
Thank you, Jane. Okay, so again, I will call you as I see you. Jane,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Zora,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. I want to extend a huge thanks to Aaron, Emily, and Maria and Sandy for a fantastic presentation, to listening to all of us. This is our sixth, isn't this our sixth meeting? And so I think we've had a robust discussion, and we've heard from many, many voices. And I think we've seen Brookline, the town at its best, listening to the neighbors, trying to work with the neighbors, give them something that they like, but that also adheres to all the rules we have to follow. So thank you all. It's been a great set of 6 meetings, and we look forward to its completion.
Yeah, thank you, Clara. And we're super excited that we're at this space, and excited to move this forward. And as Clara mentioned, next week we're going to go to Park and Recreation Commission for the commission's vote. And once we have the vote, Aaron will dive immediately with Sandy's team and our engineering team to produce like the final construction documents, with a hope to go to bid, by the end of this year or early next year, so that we can meet that construction start time for spring 2027. So again, super excited. And I really, really want to thank again, Aaron, for all the hard work that he's done over the past several months, and also Sandy, our civil engineer from Niche, and Maria for kind of working with us to look at the larger kind of neighborhood and stormwater drainage. And I especially want to say a huge shout out to Clara for chairing this DRC, and also our DRC members, Teresa, Carol, Jane, Patricia, who's not here today, and Stephanie and Zora. It's, you all have been so amazing with all the thoughtful feedback, and looking at every angle, ensuring everyone's voices are heard, and it's been very, very lovely. So thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who's joined today, all the members of public. With, like Clara mentioned, this has been one of the really robust TRCs, where again, like, shows Brookline at its best. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
So we'll all get together in the fall of 2027 with balloons and refreshments and a big celebration.
Sounds good.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye.